Hello everybody. Let's talk about research. Research is one of the most fundamental and actually fun aspects that you could have. We often hear about research in the business world. We don't hear about it much in our personal lives. That's somewhat of a shame. But research is important because of what it provides you. The basis, the foundations upon which you can do something better. In this case, make better decisions. It's one of the most preeminent terms that we hear in business. In essence, research is performing the necessary work so that you have an understanding of the issues, complexities, and influences of a problem. Once you know these aspects, you may be in a better position to address, and hopefully resolve, the problem or issue. The best type of research, the process that you should follow, and some of the considerations that are paramount in a research-oriented task would include: first, you have to devote the time. There's very little research that can be accomplished without the ability of time. Time becomes even more complex in today's world. We have more influences for our time. And when you have more influences, the only way you can capture or recapture some of that time is to manage your time well. Doing things like using the phone rather than email and using small blocks of time. Those all lead you to recapture some of the time that you may lose in a world that's dominated by social media or so many influences for your time. But research depends on the time that you have to do the proper background and foreground of an issue. Second is you have to have an open mind. Without a doubt, the very hardest thing to do in research. Most of us don't have an open mind when we go through research. That leads us to the third aspect, is that you have to consult a wide variety of sources and opinion. Again, most of us don't look at and try to find differing opinions and different sources. All you have to do is look at a magazine, a newspaper, or a television program. You can tell just by who produces it the viewpoint that they're going to have. CNN certainly has a bias. Fox News has a bias. Wall Street Journal, New York Times, all have biases. And in fact, I think that's one of the reasons that media in general is losing its audience. People want the news. They don't want opinions. They want to create their own opinion from what they see. That often doesn't happen today. But if you're doing your research, you have to consult from a wide variety of sources and opinions. Which leads us to number 4. Findings should lead to conclusions, not conclusions justified by findings. How many times have we had a discussion, even an argument, and you hear people say, I think, I believe. Rarely will you hear them say, in my research I found. In spending the time on looking at the issue from a wide variety of sources, I note that A happened, B happened, and C happened, and they occurred because of E, F, and G. You rarely hear that. Instead, people determine their stance, their opinion, their conclusion, and then they look for findings to support what they believe. Certainly an action that you have to avoid when you're in research. And lastly, the 5th step, one that I see very few people do as well, is to give your opposition a chance to discuss, debate, and debunk your conclusion. So after you finish your research, after you determined your conclusions, give it to those that often have the greatest voice against what you believe. Give them a chance on its merits to look at what you've concluded and find any holes or errors in judgment that they have seen. This is an outstanding way to determine if there's any force of opposition that is right about the conclusions that you reached. So there you have it. If you notice, when we talk about research, it's all about the mind. It's about controlling your mind. Because this is the hardest point to ever determine the proper research. It's not necessarily the specific process that you follow to read this book or talk to that person. It's really to control your mind so your mind doesn't control the conclusions. Facts should. So devote the time. Have an open mind. Consult from a wide variety of sources and opinions. Remember that findings should lead to conclusions, not conclusions that are supported and justified by your findings. And lastly, give your opposition a chance to discuss, debate, and debunk your conclusions. If you can accomplish these steps and these actions, if you can control your mind, you have the best chance to determining the best conclusion. And that conclusion has the best chance to do something different in an often uncertain world. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the day.